Hello and welcome back to Nick Talks. When you look at the new LGBTQI blah 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 blah, have you ever stopped and thought, what does the Q stand for? Well, the Q stands for queer. Queer used to be an insult to gay people, but now it means something completely different, and you're going to be shocked. Here's an article I wrote on queer theory. The danger of queer equality. I do not know much about being queer, but I know enough to understand it is not another word for gay, and it is not a replacement term for LGBT. Queer is something else, something different. The standard explanation of queer theory is the study and theorization of gender and sexual practices that exist outside of heterosexuality and traditional norms. It is a critical theory that analyses our current society through a new prism. It emerged in the early 1990s out of gay and lesbian studies and women's studies. Queer theory critiques what is considered to be normal. It aims to achieve liberation for those outside of what the existing dominant power structure considers acceptable. It promotes the idea that normal is constraining and oppressive. Queer should not be mistaken for LGB, which is a matter of sexual preference, or even T, which is a matter of gender identity. Queer is about destroying normalcy in all its forms until everything is queer, at which point there is no more queer. It is all paradoxical. The less sense something makes, the queerer it is, for making sense is deemed as normal. Queer theory is one of several critical theories popular at present, as well as critical race theory. Just in the last few months, the following have been deemed racist: trains, maths, punctuality, classical music, curry, fake tan, voter ID, Irish dancing, and even obeying the law. A critical theory is an approach to social philosophy that focuses on reflective assessment and critique of society and culture to highlight and challenge power structures. It argues that social problems stem more from social structures and cultural assumptions than from individuals. It also argues that ideology is the principal obstacle to human liberation, which is ironic. It has heavily influenced new work such as fact studies and disability studies. Both subjects are seen as pushing back against social norms and thus offshoots of queerness. In the 1960s, American universities began incorporating such thinking into women's studies as second-wave feminism hit the campuses. This way of analysing society is called postmodernism, an intellectual stance defined by skepticism towards universal truths. It questioned the learning of the Enlightenment, as all learning, knowledge and truth is relative and is a mental construct. Explanations that claim to be valid for all groups, cultures, traditions or races are dismissed as naive realism. At the same time, the Cold War was raging and socialist tendencies were frowned upon. Left-leaning professors promoted their views within social justice courses. The seeds of woke were sown. They could now fight for liberation against Western capitalism while earning a nice paycheck. We call this neo-Marxism, a modern school of thought encompassing critical theory, cultural studies, as well as some forms of feminism. Marx believed that communism would only come through violent revolution, a cornerstone of the movement. Lenin argued that revolution must be led by a vanguard of professional revolutionaries, men and women who are fully dedicated to the communist cause. Neo-Marxism co-opted postmodern theories to intellectualize their argument and distract from the failings of socialism. I am not saying that all queers are communists, rather that revolutionary communists support queerness, for it has the potential to destabilize society and bring the revolution one step closer. You can argue to some degree the same motive for their support of women's rights and LGBT rights. This is why we can have queers, trans activists, feminists, BLM, and the socialist worker all marching together under the same banners and shouting the same slogans. The smell of equity is not the only sour odour in the air. If you dare dig a little deeper into queerness, you uncover an evil stench, something that offends the vast majority of us, something we all class as abnormal: paedophilia. The vast majority of individuals who support queerness do not abuse children, and never would, but through their ignorance and ideology, they are placing children in harm's way. Social justice warriors are willing to sacrifice children for their dream of utopia. This is not new. Many humans have sacrificed their children on the altar for the hope of a better tomorrow. They've done it for healthy crops and for the rain to fall. It is a child's intrinsic value that makes them an excellent offering and a sign of commitment to an ideology. Thanks to queer theory, there is now a push to normalise paedophilia as a legitimate sexuality. It has been rebranded and the new term is minor attracted persons, also known as MAPS. They've changed it because it's less offensive to the pedos. This is the reason why I wanted to write this article. I wanted to highlight the ever pushing of boundaries and social norms. They are now at the gate of our children's innocence. Some think this is the last great battle involving sexuality and equality. The removal of the unfair prejudice and criminalisation of adults who want to have sex with consenting children. This is not a new movement. In the 1970s we had the Paedophile Information Exchange, a British pro-paedophile activist group. This was not a secret organisation, but an in-your-face lobby group that applied for and was successful in obtaining government grants. The National Council of Civil Liberties, now called Liberty, supported the group and even argued that photographs of undressed children should not be automatically considered indecent and therefore illegal. The North American Man Love Boy Association, also called NAMBLA, is a paedophilia advocacy organisation in the United States. It aims to abolish age of consent laws and campaigns for the release of men who have been jailed for sexual contact with minors that did not involve coercion. I first heard about this group when the TV series South Park did an episode on it. For years I thought it was a made-up group. I thought it was all just a joke. How wrong was I? The over-sexualisation of children has been happening all through my life. I remember 20 years ago seeing thongs on sale for small girls with the image of cherries, followed by the phrase, "eat me." It made me sick, yet mums were still buying them. You can buy padded bras for children from many high street shops. Why do girls need to advertise their sexuality? We have drag artists going into schools for story time and even attending birthday parties as entertainment. A library hired a 6-foot rainbow monkey to read children's books. His 10-inch dildo hanging between his legs was a bit of a problem. Pride events keep pushing for more kids to attend while kink is on display. This should be a private matter. The Netflix film Cuties had 11-year-old girls dressed as strippers twerking and gyrating. Queer theories are ultimately based on an interpretation of power that claims children can consent to sex with adults. If we perceive the world through the lens of power, then it makes sense to see that children have had their right to decide for themselves removed. Paedophilia is not the only batshit crazy perversion within this grouping known as paraphilia. It also covers sexual interest in objects, situations, or individuals that are not classed as normal, hence the term queer. Some examples are sex with animals, urinating on someone, dressing up as a baby, ejaculating upon a stranger in a crowd, rape fantasy, flashing, dirty phone calls, and even cannibalism. The human mind is complicated and can be easily broken. So next time you're actively supporting the LGBTQIP2A blah 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 community, please consider what exactly you are supporting and why. An increasing number of gay and lesbian individuals are turning away from this so-called community. They have realised the harm it is doing to the reputation of homosexuality. When queerness implodes, and it will, the fall guy will probably be gay men. They will receive the abuse, for the queer activists will discreetly melt back into normal society and disappear. Allow me to end by saying that adults can do, be, or say whatever they want, as long as it does not break the law. It is not my business to care about what consenting adults do, and I don't care. A free person should be able to choose their path in life without interference from others. This is not the same as supporting or accepting the choices of others, but we should not force our views or ideologies upon others. Freedom has to be for everyone, even law-abiding perverts.